Hey there, and welcome everybody to this Pet Sittingology live Google Hangout. My name is Joshua Carey from Pet Sittingology, of course, and you know, one of my favorite times of the week, getting to sit in front of the fired up webcam, do a little Google Live broadcast with some good people giving us some good information, and today is no different. Boy, am I excited. This, as you will hear, is 5 months in the making. It was 5 months ago that our special guest, today's name, came across my radar, and this is all that's leading up to it. As always, it's great to see some good familiar faces. You know what to do. Keep that chat dialogue going. There's going to be a lot of information. This is by default being recorded, so if you have a pen and paper, you'll be able to resort back to it. Without further ado, we got two people joining us today. One is my great friend, good colleague, wonderful, I'm sorry, I just have to mute this for 1 second. I'm going to introduce Laura as I mute the other computer. Say hello, Laura.
Hey guys, good to be here. I've had great luck with networking with my pet sitting business in Colorado, so I've read Derek's book, so excited to kind of chat with him and help everybody get the most results out of networking and building relationships. Well, networking is kind of the old school word. It's building relationships, it's talking to people, it's talking to your clients, and their whole out-of-the-box thinking and networking. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. I actually have my second computer with the broadcast coming through and the dialogue. So moving right along, I do appreciate that. Let's introduce and welcome our special guest. His name is Derek Coburn. How are you doing today, sir?
Josh, how are you doing? Happy to be here.
Excellent. So as you know, this is going to be all about networking and not in the traditional sense as you may know it. Derek has formed, has created, perhaps invented a new and improved way to network that is going to blow your mind, because what's so important to keep in mind as we move forward today is we're going to get the step-by-step on the what, on the how, and the why, and the when of what to do to improve your networking skills and ability in a whole new way. But here's the thing. Derek is going to walk us through the minuscule and grand. Understand that as a pet professional, you will be able to pick and choose how much or as little of this process that you want. So as you'll see, you can do some of it, or if you really want to make the biggest impact in your community, in your business, you're going to have the tools and the technique and the skill to be able to do it all. So just remember that there's going to be a whole, and you can pick and choose what works with you as we go forward. So I did mention that this was 5 months in the making, because about 5 months ago I was scrolling innocently through my Facebook stream, and I saw our good friend Marcus Sheridan post something that said, hey, I'm thrilled and excited to congratulate my good friend Derek Coburn for the launch of his new book, Networking is Not Working. And I love Marcus, so I looked into Derek and his book, and I was like, this sounds pretty interesting. Networking. What pet sitter doesn't like and need and want to network or learn more about it? So I got in touch with him 5 months ago, and it's all led to this. So with that, Derek, can you give us a little background about who you are up to this point, how you got to this point, what you're bringing to the table as we move forward?
Sure. So, and thanks again for having me. I'm glad Marcus made the introduction. And even though we were chatting about me coming out to speak to your awesome community, the real reason why I declined and said, how about a webinar, was because there's no way I'm ever going to live up to Marcus from a speaking standpoint. I don't want to follow that. I don't want to follow that guy ever. But in all seriousness, so I started my career as a financial advisor out of college back in 1998, and did that for a while. And I think by their metrics, I was pretty successful pretty quickly. And the reason for that was I was a cold calling machine. I was good at it, really good at it, which is to say that I was good at dealing with rejection and not taking things personally. And you know, I put together a really great team and wrote a systems manual. And as my business evolved, I could stop cold calling and start going to networking events. But just like you guys, just like everyone listening here, we have a recurring revenue business. We wake up January 1, and we know for the most part that if we continue to provide a great service and keep our existing clients happy, they're going to continue to pay us. And as my business grew and I was adding more clients, I had to spend more of my time focusing on finding ways to do even more for them. That left less time to network and go out and meet new people, and really put a spotlight for me on how inefficient going to the big, larger events really was, and set me down this path where I started looking at alternatives and ways that I could use my time more effectively to get that right balance between taking great care of my existing clients and focusing on finding more people just like them.
Yeah, and as we move forward, Laura, I want you to start gathering some of the notes in the chat so we can compare and contrast. And Derek, as we know, the traditional form of networking is where you wake up bright and early, you go to a meeting, and you do pitches, you meet people. And in all honesty, that's actually what Laura does today, and she does have success with it. So there is something to be said that this isn't saying, okay, you might want to stop doing that, but this is going to introduce you to a full different approach that will allow you to not do that. So Laura, what are you seeing in the chat log that we can compare and contrast with what Derek's going to bring to the table and the impression people currently have with networking?
I think people cringe at network. They're like, I'm going to go into this big room of people. I'm going to hand out 50 business cards. I'm going to get 50 business cards that I don't really want, and I'm never going to call those people, and those people are never going to call me. So it can be quite intimidating with a really low return on investment, especially if you're kind of shy, you're not comfortable in big groups. Which a lot of us are better with animals and stuff like that to sell our business. But I think Joanne had said I get more out of my business by networking at my local bar. So I think people need to be more casual and you're building friendships, you're building relationships. You're not kind of networking and trying to sell your business. Marcus talks a lot about selling your story, and Derek's book, Networking is Not Working, is about kind of refining your story and how to tell your story to get people to use your business. When I first heard of the book from Josh, Networking is Not Working, I'm like, I know it's not working. Meaning it's not actual work. You go out, you talk to people, you socialize with people. I'm not surprised that Joanne gets more people from her local bar because she's comfortable. It's just kind of chatting between two people. It's not a hard sell, which is what old school networking is.
Yep.
Derek also talks about bringing different groups. It's not going into a room full of strangers. Our clients are a network of ours. I have a client that's a cardiologist, so whenever I'm around in town and a good friend of mine needed a heart person, I'm like, oh, go talk to this person. He's a client of ours. We know him. So then your client base is a network base. So there are lots of different groups around that you can talk to. I'm a member of BNI. We have been for 3 years. I'm the incoming president, and we've had great results. We only have 42 members, and it's not standing up and selling my pet sitting business. It's getting up and talking about my story and why they should use me as a pet sitter. And like Derek said, I don't take rejection personally. If I'm not the right fit for you and your pets, go find somebody who is, because it's actually going to waste my time trying to pound the pavement and like, oh, I want you as my client. How about if I give you a discount? How about if I come at 6 o'clock in the morning and do 5 visits a day? I'll do that for you to get you as my client. You're not my client. So
yeah.
Derek has a lot of great information about how to not have it be scary, because a lot of the comments are about how they don't like it, it's intimidating, it's kind of scary, it's pointless, and it's not. It can be fun.
And as we're talking about the book, let's get right into that because that's what this is all based on. 5 months ago when we first crossed paths, I got a hold of his book. It's called Networking is Not Working. It is sold on Amazon. You can also get the Kindle version on Amazon, which I did, and I devoured it in about a day and a half. It's $2.99, if I'm not mistaken. You cannot go wrong. DerekCoburn.com/book will give you the intro stuff and the link to Amazon. So please do check that out. While we're on the subject, Derek, give us some background, if you will, on the book itself. 2 specific questions. One, what was that tipping point that you said, you know what, I have this process created and in mind, and I should write a book about it? What happened that got you to that point? And also, please tell us exactly what the title means to you, because I love that it has so many different definitions and thoughts that you can take it in. Networking is not working. What does that mean to you?
All right, so to answer your first question, you know, I was not the type of person who said I'm going to write a book at some point. And I think you could probably attest to this. There's nothing in the book that makes you sort of step back and say, this is an amazing idea and something, you know, he's going where no one else has gone before. Most people read the book and say, like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
And so, you know, I didn't realize I was sitting on information that potentially could help a lot of other people. And once I started to realize that might not be the case, then I really wanted to, share what I knew to help other people. It had such a big impact on the quality of my life, the quality of my business. And, you know, really networking is not working. I don't take that in the rah-rah sort of way as in it's fun, although it can be, but it's really about why it's not working, why it's problematic for so many people. And I think the 2 primary reasons for this are, the first, if you were to ask people, and let's go ahead and do this, just go ahead and type in what the word networking means to you. How would you define it in a few words or in a sentence? And I would throw down $100 right now that you will not get the same response from 2 people. Some view it as a noun, others a verb, and you know, and we can't even agree on how to use it in a sentence, let alone why are you doing it, and are you doing it for to benefit yourself, to get a new client? Are you looking for a new job? Are you looking to develop relationships? And really, the success of your networking endeavor is really going to come down to how aligned everyone else is with you that is in that room, how much they share in your mindset when it comes to developing professional relationships or being potential buyers for whatever it is you're selling. You know, you need to be in a room full of people who are there for the same reason as you.
Right, and have we spoken about Cadre specifically? Correct me if I'm wrong, because isn't part of that model utilizing what this whole approach to networking is?
Yeah, and so I had formed, and what I talk about in the book is everything pre-Cadre for the most part, and I mentioned it a few times to add some credibility, and but really the book walks people through a process, as you mentioned, where you can pull out different strategies, different ideas, and apply them on a one-off basis, and I think they work really well. But it's also like the step-by-step how to build your own 20 to 25 person, I call it an unnetworking group. I didn't call it at the time, but we really learned a lot. I learned a lot about, you know, what it takes to really be successful in terms of facilitating meaningful connections and adding more value for your existing clients and positioning myself to get more introductions from people who wanted to help me and people who were also going to be ideal clients for me. And Cadre was just sort of born out of reflecting on that in real time and saying, this could probably work with a larger community. Let's give it a try.
Right, and what does Cadre, C-A-D-R-E, in fact stand for?
So that's Connecting Advocates, Deepening Relationships Exclusively.
Yeah, and Antoinette, to answer your question, what does networking mean to you? She writes, networking is connecting relationships that have mutual benefits. Would you agree completely with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say that that the one thing I will point out is I view three primary types of networking in terms of why people are doing it. Networking 1.0 is your networking to benefit yourself directly and often immediately. You want a new client and you're hoping you're going to go to an event and meet someone who says, oh my gosh, you are a pet sitter? I'm actually looking for a pet sitter. I'm so happy I came to this event and met you tonight. And most of us realize pretty quickly that doesn't happen. Where most people sort of the category most people fall into is networking 2.0, which is this idea of you're meeting someone for the first time and you're focused on them and how you can help them. And I'm all for this pay it forward approach, but I think that when you just meet someone for the first time and you're thinking about how you can refer them business or create an opportunity for them, it's somewhat of a high risk, low reward play for you, because in order to do that, you're introducing oftentimes an existing client or someone else that you have a great relationship with and putting them in their hands. And oftentimes it's really for the sake of going first in the quid pro quo game. So if you're cadre because we've vetted the right people and we have a lot of people, it's really based off of that because that trust is there, so it can work. But I think going to an event and meeting someone, it's a little more challenging. So then there's networking 3.0, and this is networking to benefit your existing clients, people in your network, those that you already have a relationship with, to where you're showing up online, offline, what have you, really as like a representative for your clients. You are part of their business development and marketing department, and you're meeting people and getting to understand what's going on in their business and their lives, what they have coming up, and as the person just commented, it's creating that mutual value to where worst case scenario, the person in your network knows you're thinking about them when you're out and about doing your thing.
So this is amazing. So you just broke down for us three distinct versions of networking, and this is networking 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, and the more typical and popular approach is the 1.0 and 2.0. But you started, and I want to now take this and run fully, this version that you are bringing to the table, as you call it, networking 3.0. This is, in fact, a way for us as pet professionals, as people, as business people, as fellow human beings, to almost become part of our ideal clients' inner circle, their team, their trusted resource. So start us off from the very beginning, Derek. How, if I'm a pet sitter in my local community, what is my first step to sort of get in to position myself as that go-to resource?
Yeah, I really think it comes down to having a better understanding of your existing clients and what's going on in their lives, and what do they like about what you provide? What would they like to see be handled differently? So many of us are focused on going out and finding that next client at the expense of really getting a better understanding for how we can do even more for our existing clients. And I think pet sitters are no different than financial advisors or most businesses out there. Your primary competition right now is indifference. If there's somebody that hated their pet sitter, they would go to Google, they would proactively try to find someone else. But those who have one, at a minimum, they like their pet sitter fine. And if you come in and say, well, we have, we're going to charge a little bit less, or we have a bigger yard for the dogs to play in, those things are not going to move the needle. Whereas if you are able to provide something above and beyond your core deliverable, and in my case, when I talk about in the book, is I actually became an extension of my business development and marketing department for my clients. In addition to providing them with great financial advice, I was proactively seeking opportunities for them and their business. And so there were plenty of people out there who said, oh, I like my financial advisor, she's great, I really like what she does for me. Well, that's good. Derek's great too, and he also tries to find business owner clients that he can promote and find ways to grow their bottom line through introductions to ideal clients. All of a sudden she's not as great anymore, right?
I love it. I love so much of what you said. One of the quotes that I had pulled earlier and I wrote down because I know this is one of your big quotes, primary competition is indifference. Like Derek said, best case scenario is your clients like you fine, as he said, right? And it's probably more effort than not to find another one. So if you're not doing anything terribly wrong, there's no reason for them. So if somebody comes along and says, hey, I'll charge a little less, no big deal. So now your job is to be able to position yourself in such a way where you are such a valued and needed, respected, admired person to their whole, not just, oh, every day she comes in and walks my dog while I'm at work. That's fine. But watch how we're going to be able to take that to the next level where you become indispensable. And how do we get into that? What does the end goal look like, Derek? When we're putting all this together, if we could snap our fingers and have this process done for us, what is waking up tomorrow going to look like for us?
The process of
becoming
doing
that
something
indispensable,
else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it the ultimate tiebreaker, and it's because you're finding a way to separate yourself in a way that's not directly tied to your business, although it can be. But I think what this new world looks like is that you're creating a way for the two worlds to intersect. The world where you want to do more for your best clients and keep them happy, and the world where you're looking to meet more people who are just like them. So I'll give you a perfect example. When my son was younger, we took him to a local play space for kids. It's called Kidville's, like a higher end gymboree, and they were also providing haircuts there. Well, one day we got an email from the owner saying, I'm bringing in someone who specializes in how to administer CPR for babies and infants. And we'd also like to give you the opportunity to invite someone who also has a young child, same market, right, who would be interested in learning about this. And when the presentation's over, we're going to have open play space where you don't have to pay money to hang out in the gym and use the facility. So it started off with providing something of value that I was interested in that had nothing to do with their core deliverable. It was same reason I bring my kid there. I have a baby, so it was that same market, but it was learning how to save my kid's life if he started choking on something. But then they said I should invite someone, and I was giving another parent the opportunity to get this valuable information, and then by default they were going to stay there and hang out in the gym and get exposed to it in a way that they probably would not have if she had just said to me, hey, can you try to refer a few people to come to Kidville and hang out next Saturday?
Yeah, so how does a pet professional begin this process with their current client base? So let's say I'm watching somebody's dog every afternoon. I like them as a client. They seem, they pay on time. They're respecting me and my time. I like them. Everything is symbiotic here. What's that first move to begin down this journey with you?
I always like to, for me, I started with my clients that own businesses, and I wanted to learn more about their business and how I might be able to support them, and how I might be able to identify opportunities for them. But really, it could also be a pure play to where you have clients that that don't own businesses, but maybe are they only using your walking services Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? And if so, could be interesting to find out, well, what do you do on Tuesday and Thursday? And are there other things you can do? I'm trying to think. Like, I'll tell you, we send our dog to a pet sitter who literally has a 2-acre farm property about a half hour from our house. And there's a lot of people out there who have a dog sitter right now that they come, they walk the dog around the block a few times, and they're perfectly fine with that person. They don't know that their dog could be running around on 2 acres with a bunch of other dogs, and really just a great experience for my dog. And on top of that, she is now adding photos to the Facebook page and tagging us in that. So that's kind of like a cool way where all of our friends that were connected on Facebook are seeing our dog running around with other dogs in this big open field, and it's created some awareness. But I still think that there's ways for her, and I don't have the answers, but there's ways for her to create more awareness to go from, oh wait, I can go from my dog walking around the block a few times to running around on a couple of acres with a bunch of other dogs in like Doggy Paradise. Where do I sign up?
You're right. So the idea is to begin the dialogue with your best clients so you, again, can position yourself as part of their team. Imagine if you are not just their professional pet care provider. Imagine if you are an indispensable and indisposable part of their team where they rely on you and you rely on them to bring other people in, to connect people with them. Now they are not going to be swayed by other pet sitters because you are so indispensable to the very fabric of their business or their lifestyle that they are currently living, that they have no reason. You become part of the family on a level that nobody else is. Now, Derek's going to give us an example of this right out of his book. I have spoken to him on several occasions of this story because it blows my mind, and I'm sure it's going to blow your mind as well. Derek, I'm talking about the story how you had a friend who felt obligated to meet with another, I think it was a financial advisor, because his sister's brother's friend's cousin was a financial advisor, and it said, would you just please sit? Now, this guy already had a financial advisor, but out of family obligation, he said, can you just sit down, just meet with this person? And tell us what happened in that story.
So I changed the name of my client. He was a client of mine, and in the book I refer to him as David the Landscaper. And David the Landscaper called me up to say, I've been asked by one of my great clients for a favor, just like Josh just spelled out. He let me know about it, told me I didn't have anything to worry about. He was just giving me the heads up, which I was grateful for him for doing that. And he called me a couple days later. It was the day after their meeting. For 45 minutes, they got together. And towards the end of this meeting, the other financial advisor presented a hypothetical portfolio suggesting that had David invested his money with his firm instead of with me over the past couple of years, that David would have actually earned an extra 2 to 3% per year. And David's response was, Derek's referred me to clients that have generated over $2 million for my business. And so in theory, Derek could have lost my portfolio, which I did not do, and I still would have been better off working with him from a net perspective. And so, I think that with in the world of pet sitting, you have clients, but then you also have the opportunity to develop relationships with other service providers who are catering to the same end user. They have pets, but also I think there's tremendous amount of opportunities to educate and provide more information. So how many of your existing clients have used landscaping companies, and are they aware of the safest and best types of fertilizer to use for your pets? And it could be a way for you to engage and educate landscapers, and in turn you're on their radar now, and they're finding people when they go on their projects. They get hired to do work that have dogs that sit around the house all day. They say, gosh, well, you should talk to my friend over here who's got a great pet sitting company or a great dog walking company. So it's just that sort of thinking. I actually just made that up off the top of my head, so hopefully it was useful and relevant, but that's sort of like what to think about.
Right, and the part you didn't make up, which I just want to reiterate again. So you, Derek, were financial advisor, managing people's monies, and out of courtesy, one of your good clients said, you know what, I have to, out of courtesy, sit down with another financial advisor, but just wanted to give you the heads up. You have nothing to worry about. This financial advisor crunched some hypothetical numbers and said, hey, David, if you went with me, I could have grown your portfolio 2 to 3% every year versus what Derek is currently doing for you. Now, the clincher and the kicker and the punchline to this whole entire thing is that, simply put, David the landscaper said, but in the recent past, Derek has referred me to clients who have netted me $2 million in revenue. So it doesn't matter if he lost half my portfolio because of this other networking deal that we have done, and he brought me. So thanks, but no thanks. What do you say about this, Laura?
I think it's an out-of-the-box way to be useful to our clients. We're not just the pet sitter. We hear that a lot. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, you're just a pet sitter. You just have a pet sitting business. My neighbor could do it. It's like, well, no, we're bringing a whole heck of a lot more to the table than your neighbor can. Taking the pet tech first aid class that's going to be offered at the conference, that kind of puts us helpful for our clients. So if I save one of my clients' dog's life and they're like, well, I'm going to kind of interview, they're not going to shop around anymore. If I do something beneficial for either their pet, their business, their home life, kind of if I'm useful for them other than just coming 3 days a week to walk the dog, they're not even going to consider any pet sitting, and they're going to talk to their friends who might have another pet sitter and be like, oh, you shouldn't use that company. Here you need to go use Laura. You need to call her. She's fantastic. She saved my dog's life. And then that ripple effect is going to go out. We have a client that just opened a coffee bar, wine bar in town. We're there. Me and my girlfriends are there all the time. We post on social media. We talk about it. And the client is, I mean, she comes over to our table when we're there. She's like, hey, thanks so much for coming in. And we refer our other clients to them. So the ripple effect to be useful in more than, oh, yeah, I was at your house and I spent a half an hour there. I walked the dog. I didn't pay attention to anything else. I don't know what you do. So it's the building relationships part of it. I don't know that I could bring a client $1 million or $2 million, but you never know. That's kind of how you talk to people. It's kind of different ways of, if you don't have a client that's a restaurant owner or something like that, what other benefits can you bring them other than exercising their dog? Derek brought up that you get photos of your dog while she's at the play place or something like that. So then I bet you share them on social media to your personal page, which kind of the ripple effect that goes out, and your friend who might have the dog walker come be like, oh man, I saw on Derek's page this 2-acre farm, it's awesome, I'm going to go and check it out, and bam, he just got another client for his dog person. So photos on social media are huge, the comments, and then having them share it. I mean, we've gotten 500 views, we've gotten 6 or so shares from people who just love to see their dog's picture, and they usually say, hey, look what Laura and Keep Me Company Pet Sitting did with my pet today. That's awesome. They went on a great hike. They went to a lake. They went to go swimming, and then that just kind of puts the word out on how much they like us and what we can do for them more than just the pet sitter.
Right. So the goal here, the idea here, networking 3.0, as he calls it, is to become that ultimate resource, that connector, if you will. So to give you an example, if one of my good clients, a friend, a daily client, someone who respects us, admires us, uses us on a regular basis, let's say that she owns a papery. She sells the invitations, that whole thing. That might be a good business where I can then start using that knowledge. Hey, this woman has a papery in town. What would I do with that information, Derek?
Yeah, so I talk about how, in addition to, but oftentimes separate of, being the, putting this concept of the ultimate tiebreaker into action, is the ultimate resource, which I made up because it went along with the ultimate tiebreaker. And I had a number of clients that were the director of HR or the CFO of their company, because we would handle their group benefits for them. And they're not in a position where they're developing business. They might think it's nice if I refer their company a new client, but it's really not anything that directly involves them. But what I could do for those individuals was be a person that when they had a decision coming up, if they were going to shop an RFP, if they needed to know who was, the best coffee company to work with office buildings, just by really being at the center and knowing who the best of the best were, I was bringing a lot of value, and it made a big difference. And so I think how it applies to all of the professionals on this call, I can speak from my own experience that there are a lot. I used Google a lot, right, early on in terms of what kind of dog food do I want to buy, and what should I do about this, and how do I find the best place to I was going to say, like, how do I find the best place to board my dog? So there's some stuff that you're going to provide. You're providing those direct services. But, how many of your clients, if they're hiring a pet sitter, they're hiring somebody to take great care of their dog, they care about their dog. They're investing in their dog more than others. How many of them have ever bothered to ask if they're giving their dog the best kind of food they could be giving him, or if they're giving their cat the best kind of vaccinations, or are they going to the best doctor? I'm sort of rambling a little bit here, but really just the more useful information that you're proactively providing me with. But also, if it's a webinar, if it's an in-person gathering, an in-person event, and you're also giving me a really good reason to bring other friends of mine who have pets that might be interested in learning what you have to share, and at the same time getting exposed to you in a way that they would not have otherwise, I think it creates that double win-win. You did something great for your existing clients and put yourself in a spot where you can meet more people like them by making it easy for them to invite others.
Right. And yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I think part of it too is thinking outside the box as pet sitter. Yes, a great way is to talk about healthy dog foods, healthy dog treats, places to walk your dog and stuff like that. But I, kind of going off of our clients that have a restaurant in town, in my head, I'm going to call some clients and be like, hey, what's your favorite restaurant in town? Number one, have you heard of Modena Wine Cafe? It's fantastic. But then I might write an article, kind of get all the answers, and then write an article about, hey, here's some great hidden gems in Longmont that our favorite clients love to go out. If you want to go out for a night on the town, this is where you should go, and if you need us to come and let your dog out, we would be more than happy to do it. So it can kind of be definitely out of the box. It doesn't just have to be pet related. Our ideal clients travel. Most of our clients are vacationers. We don't have a lot of the daily walks, the Monday through Friday, that a lot of other pet sitters do. So we might do an article or talk to our clients about, hey, where's your favorite long weekend? What do you like to do for a long weekend? And then we'll kind of put it out there on social media. We might write an article about it, write a blog about it. Easy 3-day trips from Longmont. So if somebody's Googling it, then they'll find a pet sitter, and hopefully they'll use us. Or current clients that like to go on long weekend trips might not have heard of these other weekend trips that our other clients are going on. So it's the win-win that you were talking about. We might put the idea in somebody's head of, oh, I haven't gone down to Colorado Springs, and you can feed the giraffes at the zoo. Like, literally, you can feed the giraffes at the zoo. Oh, I didn't know that. Let's go. Hey, Laura, are you guys available this weekend? So you can kind of put the idea in people's head to then start talking about you, and they're going to need a pet sitter is kind of how I've used it personally for my business for that. And also, if you're a pet sitter and you're at somebody's house and there's a water pipe that's broken, I don't need to Google plumbers. I know a plumber. There's a plumber in my BNI group. I know him personally. I know his story. I've seen him every week. He's on my phone. I can give him a call. James, come on out. And then I can call the client and be like, hey, your water pipe broke. I got it fixed within 12 hours because I know a plumber personally. He knows how important it is. I left his name and number. He totally fixed it. Done, taken care of. don't even have to think about it and worry about it. And the clients are like, oh my gosh, that's a huge value. It's not like Laura just turned the water off and it was like, oh yeah, you're going to come home to a house with no water. Have fun with that. They're like, wow, Laura fixed a problem. It wasn't a problem having anything to do with the animals, but it was a problem having to do with the house and the big picture of what our clients entrust to our care.
Right, and that's exactly one of the things Derek promotes is how to enhance the value you provide your best clients. And this coincides with something Maureen is writing here. She wrote, one of my clients had 2 of her dogs pass away within a month. She still has 2 dogs left. I took her out to dinner to cheer her up. She could not believe I did that. She told all the nurses she works with, and that brought me 2 new clients. Is that not on track, Derek, with exactly what you promote here?
It is, and I think it was a great idea. And what I would have actually done is I would have offered to take her and a group of her friends out so she could celebrate with them. And you do it first and foremost as all you care about is doing something nice for a great client of yours. She's mourning, you want to do something cool for them, and if she invites 4 or 5 people and none of them have a pet, but she has a great time and it cheered her up, mission accomplished, you should feel great about doing that. But by then inviting, I always try to, if I can be authentic about it and it makes sense to. So I think that's great that she did that, but I've had plenty of experiences where a client will say, oh, I've got this person and I want to refer to you, and I never get an email and I never get an introduction. And we can talk about some different ways to create situations and make sure those people follow through when they say that they're going to do that. But I think it was a really good idea, and I think that even throwing a party for them is something that's pretty cool. You can throw parties for your clients whose pets have been with them for a period of time, or give them a gift, or there's a lot of interesting things I think that you could do. But I don't mean to nitpick, but I'm saying I think it was a really good idea. But that's just another thing that you could do on top of it next time.
Well, of course, and certainly you're not nitpicking. You're showing how that was a success, and here's how you can take it even further. And I love the idea of let her invite a few of her friends, even if they have no pets. That's still a win because, oh my gosh, maybe those people know people, and it's a win all around. Can you, as you suggested, please take a couple of moments and tell us how to assure further that the people we ask to refer will, in fact, refer?
Did you have something to say, Laura?
Nope, I was agreeing with Josh. People
cool.
without pets, you still want to network with those people and build relationships with those people because they know people with pets. It's not like, in Boulder County where I happen to live, there are more pets per household than kids per household, which works fantastic. But people without pets know somebody with pets. So if they're talking and be like, oh, I want to go away for the weekend, oh, but I don't have anybody to watch my pets. Oh, I just talked to this awesome person. She brought us all to a restaurant to celebrate this dog's life, and it was awesome. And man, I wish I had a dog. You should totally call her, and maybe I will get a dog. So it can snowball there. So it's not. Don't kind of put yourself in a box of saying, oh, you don't have pets, then I don't need to talk to you. Why not? Yeah. You might know somebody who has pets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I do think though that there's a way to do it, and I'm always I always like to share, like I didn't put this in my book because I had no control over who would be reading it, but I want to give a couple of tips and suggestions that if used properly and authentically, they're going to work really well. And if not, it's going to potentially, ruin it for all of us. And, that's why I like doing these more curated chats where I know what the audience is about. I know the people that are putting it together in this case, Josh and Laura. But take networking 2.0, for example. I think the reason why in real time it doesn't work for a lot of us is that if someone comes up to us in an event and says, I like to learn more about your business, and then you tell them and they say, okay, so I want to really know about your ideal client and how I can help you and how I can refer you someone, our guard goes up because we know that that sort of thing is almost too good to be true, and unfortunately, there are a lot of networking 1.0 professionals who read these books about networking 2.0 and decided, hey, I'm going to pretend like it's all about this person I'm meeting, and that way, by going first, I'm going to get, I'm going to have it reciprocated. I'm going to get it paid back to me. And so I just, always throw that. You guys read my book. There was 20 disclaimers. I couldn't type enough. Warning. Just make sure you're doing this because you want to do something cool for your clients, not because you're trying to get a referral out of it. But having said all of that, I think that really positioning yourself in the example that we were just talking about with going out to lunch with a group of people, you can actually say, you need a night out on the town, and I would love to take you out and some of your friends. Why don't you invite 3 or 4 others? They don't feel at all like they have to be pet owners. I'm not doing this as a way to meet people. I'm doing it as a way to show how much I value our relationship and help you do something fun. But just by putting that in there, you're planting a seed, and 9 times out of 10, the person's going to say, well, I probably should invite some people that have pets so that I can introduce them to Maureen in this case, right? So just something to think about. You want me to get into a couple of examples?
Please do.
I'm gonna touch on that for a second because I think a lot of us are like, oh my God, where am I gonna get the money to take 4 people out? It doesn't have to be this $200 dinner and stuff like that. Take them to a locally owned coffee shop or something like that. So then you're supporting another local hangout, local coffee shop, local diner, whatever you have in town. And kind of how you can pick and choose, you can do it 2 ways. You can figure out who is your most financially productive client. What clients, rank them 1 to 10, 1 to whatever, who brings you the most money. And you can ask the top 3 people or something like that. You could also do it with who's your ideal client, because your top money makers might not be your ideal client. What clients do you absolutely love? You love how they treat their pets. You love their pets. They shop at the Natural Whole Earth, whatever pet shop. They do everything.
They really appreciate you.
Yep, and bring those people. And then those people, again, are like Derek said, might bring people like them, the like-minded thinking, what we started out talking about. If they have the same mindset, you want more clients with that same mindset if they're your ideal client. So then you'll get more ideal clients rather than clients that aren't a good fit, you're not happy with, you're going to get burned out, and networking is not going to work.
Yeah, Mary Page, I want to point out here, wrote two really good things. The first, she defines networking, and I think this is right up your alley, Derek. She says, networking, you become an invaluable resource and problem solver for your customers. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about the invaluable resource and problem solver. The typical problem we solve as pet sitters and pet care professionals is they're at work, they don't have the means or ability to walk their dog, that's their problem, so they hire someone like us to walk the dog. That's the solving of their problem. But we're also talking about the bigger picture. How can you become the invaluable resource and solve their problems on bigger levels? Whether their problem is, I'm a small business owner and I would like more clients, or I would like to organize an event through my business, and you know how to do that through yours, so you, as part of their team, as you become someone that they know they can rely on, help them solve that problem. So am I right, Derek, in that it's becoming a resource and a problem solver, not just in the literal of the services we provide?
Sure, but it can be also. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of that, and I'll go back really quickly to comment on the example from Maureen, and I agree with everything Laura mentioned and what she added to that. But this is where just knowing a little bit about your clients, it doesn't have to be about money, right? And perhaps this woman is a total introvert and she doesn't want to go out, but she is a big movie fan, right? Like, I want to host movie night for you. We can come to your house or my house. We'll get pizza and popcorn, and I want you to invite a few people. And this is where, I wrote a blog post a couple years ago called, I don't see how I'm going to use Facebook for business. And I think so many people are on Facebook and they think they can get business, but really just by being friends with your clients, you get to see their lifestyle. You get to see if they go out to concerts or if they stay home and read. And that gives you some good information to work with as well. In terms of, solving problems. So do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about how to more effectively maybe position yourself to, if you have a bunch of clients that really love you and like what you're doing, how you can make it easier for them to do it?
The latter.
Okay, cool. All right,
do you agree, Laura?
I do, and I was just going to go because Mary Page said, how about some suggestions for little things we can do that don't involve the night out on the town? And I was kind of thinking of, if you have a local groomer in town, do a night, call up the groomer, say, hey, I want to invite a bunch of my clients to a little talk that you'll give about grooming your dog. So maybe just have refreshments or something like that. Do it at the groomer's place, or if there's a local trainer, hey, we're going to meet at the dog park with this local trainer 10 a.m. on Saturday morning if you want to get some quick training tips. So then you're not only networking with the trainer, you're giving them potential business. If your clients come like the trainer, they're going to be like, oh, this is awesome, Laura, thanks so much for hooking me up with this trainer in town. I made some appointments with her because my dog jumps and stuff like that. So then you're not necessarily putting out, you're just kind of organizing it, and almost, I think they're called lunch and learns or something like that. So you're bringing the groomer to the table, or have somebody from a dog food store come and talk about the importance of healthy dog foods or something like that. So it's not, hey, I'm going to rent a limo and take you guys all out on the town. Let's be useful. Let's give them information that can help them, because I know that you take your dog to the groomer, but hey, how do I clip my own dog's nails? I don't really want to take my dog and pay $20 every couple months to get their nails clipped. How do I do that myself? Oh, well, let me set it up, and I'll have a vet or a vet tech or a groomer talk to you and show you how to do it and kind of take it from there.
Great. Take it away, Derek.
Cool. So, and building on what Laura just said, if you find ways to be more valuable, whether it's making introductions to your clients, going to their shop or their restaurant and supporting them in that regard, or making great recommendations for what types of dog food or cat food to use or not use, then you're going to have more and more people that really want to help you. And I mentioned earlier, I've had people in the past say, oh, I've got this referral for you. And what I found is that even though I had done and was doing a lot to really improve the lives of my clients and people in my network, no one was ever setting aside 30 minutes on a Friday afternoon to think about how they could refer me business, right? And it's as simple as, if I were Laura in her hypothetical example that she just walked through, I then have this trainer that I've done something great for, and I did it mainly to do something great for my clients, and the trainer delivered the goods and made me look great in that regard. Well, now I want to make it easy for that trainer to help me. And in this scenario, it could be as simple as an email template, so that instead of this trainer racking her brain to think of ways that she can introduce you, what's the website again, and what are the services they provide, I can't remember if they do hourly or if it's just boarding, that you give them the framework so they can copy and paste and invite someone else. You're doing the work for them. And this works even better if it is now you hosting some type of an event. So now you're not asking someone to directly introduce you to someone who wants to hire you, and oftentimes those people that show interest that's a much smaller pool than people that aren't even thinking about you or may not even know you exist, but potentially could be a great client. This is where I'm hosting a webinar on this particular thing, or I'm going to host an event at this coffee house, or and now you are creating the email template, which they can copy and paste to say, hey, I wanted to invite you to this great event that my friend Laura is putting on this topic. Laura owns a phenomenal, boarding company, and I use her. I've worked with her in the past. Again, just making it really easy, taking the legwork out of it. And same thing with events. You know, we talked about it earlier, whether it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but again, there are a lot of people out there that we're not looking to change their financial advisor, but I would host a wine tasting event, and I would tell my clients, this is more about just doing something great for you, but I also want you to have a lot of fun, and you're going to have more fun if you invite a friend or two to come along with you. You don't have to don't feel like you have to know someone's financial situation, and they certainly don't have to be someone that you feel like is looking to change financial advisors. Just make sure that they're good people and they like good wine. And, you know, worst case scenario, right? My clients have a great time, but what also happens is the people there start saying, well, I have a pretty good financial advisor, but I never get invited to go to wine tasting events, and I never get invited to bring my friends to come to events that are hosted by my financial advisor. And then they find out, well, gosh, I definitely am not getting introductions from my financial advisor to potential clients for my business. So you want to try to find ways to, you know, add value. Sometimes it can be directly about your business, other times it has nothing to do with it, but find ways to meet more people that would be a great client, but they're not currently looking for you, don't currently think they need you.
I love that example where you do these events, you do these lunches, these round tables, and you tell your clients, hey, invite one or two people, and then they start saying, hey, my financial advisor never invites me to these things. And I mean, that in and of itself is just so wonderful, and it's like, whoa, is that an aha light bulb moment? Can you give us a quick insight into what do you personally hold? You do these 20 to 25 people events once a quarter, these lunches. What do those look like?
Okay, so I may be there may be a little bit of a curse of knowledge here, but probably not a lot. So now, you know, that was done to support my wealth management business, and it was built around my best clients, some of their key advisors, and others that I reached out to and handpicked. And so I'm not doing that as much anymore now that I'm doing Cadre. I'm still hosting wine tasting events and doing some other things, but you know, it really was always first and foremost about my clients and finding ways I could do more for them. And the ancillary benefit was, you know, I was making it easy for them to be able to say, oh, this person is a good friend of mine, and I want to bring him or her along. But I mean, I feel like I answered that already, but is there another
Yeah.
by default, really, but is there another point I'm missing, or?
No. With that, before we completely wrap this up, while everybody's listening in, if you have any last thoughts or comments or questions about networking or what all this involves, let me know in the chat box. Also, remember, you can easily get a page-by-page, easy read, Networking is Not Working, on Amazon in the search bar, or derekcoburn.com/book will bring you to the information, and you can get the complete overview. Let me ask you this, Derek. Can you tell us what can we expect to really dive into and learn in the book that we just simply don't have time to cover here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, there's more examples, and there's more sort of how to put some of these things into practice. You know, how to better position yourself, how to be more proactive about. So there's the example that Laura gave earlier, which is a great example of, you're in the client's house and you see that their pipe broke. Well, you know, that's great, but then also what are some things you can do to have people be thinking about you when their pipe breaks, where they normally, you know, one of the stories in the book is about my personal trainer. And there aren't a lot of people that are going to their personal trainer asking for recommendations for financial advisors. So I have this thing, you know, called triggering events. You know, John Jantz called them trigger phrases in his book, The Referral Engine. And it's not really telling people what you do, and it's not asking your clients to refer you to people who are interested in a pet sitter. It's what should your best clients and people who want to help you be on the lookout for? What should they be listening for? And so maybe you have a few single clients that use your pet services, and you know, they have friends who always go home earlier than you want them to because they have to get home to walk their dog, right? Well, that person may not be seeking a dog walker, but they're saying something that is a problem for them and maybe a problem for you because it's your friend and you want them to hang out longer. That immediately should have you think of you and what you provide and how you can work together. So I touch on that a little bit, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's really, I think, what this has done more than anything else is that it's allowed me to attract and retain clients that are really a great fit for me. Laura talked about this a little bit earlier. I think that 95% of most businesses' big problems stem from us as the business owner doing a very poor job of selecting which clients we are going to work with, right? That we make exceptions, we want to help people, we're hungry, we want to make money, but at the end of the day, if you're really true to yourself about who is an ideal client, and are you taking money from people now because they have a pet, but they are always late, they always question your fees, they don't seem to take advantage of some of the recommendations that you're making them. Like, you can suck that up and deal with it for now because maybe the revenue's good, but wouldn't it be nice for all of us to get to a place where we can say to that person, it's all good, no hard feelings, but I have enough people that are interested in working with me that really get me and really believe in the way I do things, and they respect me for it, and we have a great partnership, and that's really all I'm interested in working with.
That's right. Laura, what final thoughts do you have on this whole topic?
On kind of how to wrap it all up with finding our ideal client and networking. If your ideal client uses all natural dog food, so go to the all natural dog food, and instead of being like, hey, can I just put my cards on the counter and then walking out, be like, hey, I want to do a little mini education center because my ideal clients shop at this store. So can we set up a little thing, talk about healthy dog food, I'll bring my clients, you put a flyer up in the store or something like that, and it's kind of a win-win. It's not handing out as many business cards as you can, it's handing out selective business cards so you have your ideal clients. So you can be like, oh my God, my day is filled with awesome clients, awesome pets, they're exactly who I want to be serving. And then that gives you a lot more validity, it gives you a lot more value because now you know the person of the natural dog food store. It's not kind of, here are 100 cards just kind of put on the counter. I used to work at a vet's office, and we would get pet sitters, groomers, all sorts of people be like, hey, can I tack my card up on your bulletin board as you walk in the door? It's like, okay, what was we forget them 5 minutes when they're out the door, but if somebody were to come in and be like, hey, I want you to give a talk on overheating in dogs, it's been a hot summer, or winter's coming up, how do I keep my outdoor cats warm, can we do a little seminar, and I'll bring all of my cat clients, I'll invite them. So it gives you, now you're networking with the vet, and the vet's going to remember you, and you're going to have more value to the vet, so when one of their clients comes in and wants a pet sitter, they're going to be like, yeah, I know a pet sitter, and hey, why don't you come to this talk that I'm giving about how to keep your outdoor cat warm? It'll be awesome. So it's a win for the vet, and it's a win for you, and that's kind of how networking, it's not really working. It's building relationships with your current clients and being useful, and also with what your ideal clients are going to want and how they use the community.
I love the tie into the book. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, it's really again, I mean, I think it's really about finding those clients that, yes, they're paying you well, but they also meet the intangibles, and so I understand that there are a lot of people and a lot of occupations that they may say, well, what about, it seems like a lot of money, taking people out to dinner, hosting one of these events. I live in Washington, D.C. It's expensive to live here, but the farm that I mentioned earlier, right? I mean, that's 3 days a week for my dog. I mean, I know that just for 3 days, not including all the time we board with them, I know I'm dropping more than $5,000 a year, right? So if you have a few clients like that, and I'm nowhere near her best client, I don't think, that you identify those 3, 4, 5 and just focus on them. These are not things that you implement with all of your clients. I mean,
Right.
if you have a client that only calls you up once every 6 months to watch your pet for 2 days, while they go somewhere else, like, that's not necessarily, maybe it is, but that's probably not the person that you want. You want the recurring, they want to use you as much as possible. You're making their lives easier, and somebody that's paying you on a weekly or every other week basis to take care of their pet for 2, 3, 4 times a week, there's a lot. There's probably even more money you could be getting from them, right? And making their lives easier, saving them money on dog food, giving them a client. These are all things that allow them to spend more on vacation, allow them to spend more on your services. And so really, focus on the 3, 4, 5, and that's a great fit now, but also what I always like to, not just the current version of yourself in your business. Don't just say what's a good client for that, but also which ones that, if my business grows really well and we continue to evolve the way I'm hoping we do, which ones are still going to be great clients 5 years from now, and those are the ones that you should really invest a good amount of time and money into and really get a better understanding for how you can do more for them.
That's so great.
Yep.
And just to recap a little bit of this, the whole point of this is to find ways how to become an integral, indispensable part of your best clients' lives as that resource, one that goes above and beyond the specific service you provide them today. So start to think how you can get to know them on a little bit of a deeper, more personal relationship there, so you can provide them with what they need, or they didn't even realize that they need, but now you understand their bigger goals, their vision, their problems, their needs, to be able to go back to your drawing board, fill in the gaps based on the connections and the relationships you've wound up forming, to be able to connect the two together. And again, don't forget these amazing light bulb moments and stories we spoke about. If a competitor, as in Derek's example, a competitive financial advisor sat down and said, well, if you went with me, I can save you, I can increase your portfolio by 3%. He said, that's all fine and dandy, but Derek earned me $2 million in revenue from these clients that he brought my way. So there are things like that that just open you up, and the book is a very easy read, and you're going to be mind blown. So how do we leave it, Laura? What are your final thoughts?
Read the book. It's awesome, and networking is so productive. And like Derek said, you don't. It's not for all your 100% of your clients aren't your ideal clients. Take your top 5, take your top 3, and do something special for them, because then they're going to refer you to their network, and your network is going to kind of grow exponentially with them. And I'll leave it. We had a client, one of our best clients, she called. She's like, hey, my husband and I are going for two weeks to Australia. We're looking at these 3 different dates. Which one are you available for? We want to know when you're available before we buy tickets for a $10,000 trip. It's like, oh, you can't come this week? Okay, then we'll change our trip around when you're available. So
that's awesome.
That's the kind of client that you want, and that's the client that you can get if you develop those clients, if you develop the relationships with those clients. It's not just about handing out as many business cards and bringing a plate of cookies. It's getting to know them, getting to know their story, and then they know your story as well.
That's right. And for you, Derek, what says you, and where can we find you online?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'll add too is that when you're doing this, I mean, you're going to find yourself enjoying your work more, enjoying your clients more, and you may think that you have a good idea as to who is a great client, but let's say that you're all about not just watching, not just being a pet sitter, but really about this much bigger thing. Like I talk to my personal trainer all the time. You want to get to your point in your practice where you're not just finding people that want to pay you to work out, because if you have clients that are paying you to work out and then they're going out and they're eating like crap and they're gaining weight while they're working out with you, they're not improving their lives, you're not having the impact on them, and ideally you get to a point where you have enough people where you can really be selective. And you may be very big, like the example with the organic dog food. You may have one or two of your clients that come back and say, you know what? And by the way, I have no idea if this is going to offend anyone or be accurate or whatever. They may say, like, my dog is totally cool with kibbles and bits. Like, I don't believe in organic stuff. He's a dog. He can eat whatever he wants. Like, yeah, maybe you'll get rid of that person right away. If they're paying you well, you probably shouldn't, but you can start to begin to see how, you know, you're going to be in a position to be more particular, and you're going to be in a position to say, just because you're willing to pay me doesn't mean I'm willing to provide my services to you. And you know, and with that, hopefully all this was helpful. I love to stay in touch with everyone. Josh, I really appreciate the opportunity, and Laura and Josh, both of you, for the kind words about my book. I hang out a decent amount and find Twitter to be the best place to sort of have ongoing conversations in Cadre DC. But you know, again, just really appreciate this, and look forward to meeting some of the people who are on the call.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So we will, as always, keep the conversation going. And it's great because I just want to make this final thought where Derek just alluded to in some of the comments the same. For those people watching this, if you are someone who enjoys getting out there and being in front of your best people and your community, this is the opportunity. There are so many creative and fun and social opportunities, some that require little to no money, and some that you might want to invest a little bit for a greater return. That's all stuff you're going to learn in the book. So if you're someone that likes to just try and do new things and be that person who can provide the resource and the value and can get that feeling of satisfaction, this is for you. So with that, I want to thank both you, Laura, for spending the time, and you, Derek. I love it. I'm thrilled that I happened to come across that post, that Marcus Sheridan, and that I reached out, and we've kept in touch for 5 months, and finally it comes to this. I really appreciate it. As always, we shall keep the conversation going. You know where to find me, PetSittingology.com, or on Facebook.com/PetSittingology. For now, as always, life is short. Life is great. Be kind, everybody, to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.